Come on up. Sure, why not? They got plenty of room. But, for me, like that, what's interesting, now we can change the conversation a little bit and talk about one specific character now. There, I see. Does that sound like an actor talking or what? For me, one of the things that's interesting also about the books, in the sense that when you read the books are first person, right? I mean, it's Walt. He's the one that's telling you the story, and you're kind of in his head for 350 and 400 pages. Well, it's interesting like that because, with the television show, they don't have that luxury. They really can't do that. And so what's really amazing to me, and what was amazing to me from the very first audition, when I got to watch Robert audition for the role of Walt Longmire, was you could see the wheels turning. You knew that something was going on there. Like that. Even when he was just responding to the other characters, or in between the lines. It was really kind of nice to see that.
You got a phone. Nobody ever calls me.
We'll call you.
Get the number out, that's fine. But for me, that was like, that was one of the exciting parts about it, was to watch Robert's audition for the role. Because one of the things they asked me whenever they got started on the process, it was really kind of strange because a lot of times they do not ask the author what they think about the casting. But they said, well, do you ever think about actors? When you think about Walt or any other characters like that. And I said, no, I actually don't. I got friends, family, neighbors, people I work with that I use for characters in the books. And they said, well, if you were to think of actors, who would you think of? And I said, you know what, Gary Cooper, Joel McRae, Ben Johnson, And they said that was no help at all because all those guys had been dead for 30 years. Okay? And so I told them, I said, I really don't have any ideas about, what, who we could use or anything. And so then when they sent me the DVDs, it was kind of funny because I got the DVD and it said Robert Taylor on the bottom of it, and I was like, well, they took my advice after all. That joke does not work with the under 30 crowd. But what was grand about it is that Robert came on the screen like that, and he was completely different from all the other guys that had attempted to try and play the role. His audition was pretty magnificent, and even though he won't admit it, like that, he pretty much, knocked the ball right out of the park, right there from the very get-go. And there really wasn't any question in anybody's minds that he was probably going to end up being Walt Longmire. And I can't tell you how glad I am that was the case.
I'm pretty happy.
That's all we drink. Okay, so you guys might have some questions for Robert. Does anybody have anything?
Yeah, I do.
Uh-oh, okay.
All right. I saw you in St. Louis, and I had asked you about the spirituality of Walt Longmire. And you told a story that I would want to make sure other people hear, because it meant a lot to me when you told it, about a snowy night seeing an owl.
Oh, yeah.
I wish you would share it.
I just got through actually doing a little interview with Warner for like the extra material for the third season DVDs. And one of the things they asked me about was the spirituality that's in the books, and also that's in the television show. Because one of my favorite scenes like that's in the pilot episode is the one where Walt is standing in the kitchen and he takes down the tea box, that holds the ashes of his wife, right? And all of a sudden he looks out the window and he sees that owl outside the window. Look at it. And I don't know if you know it or not, but with the Northern Cheyenne, the owls are considered to be, they're basically messengers from the camp of the dead. And, it's not necessarily, a bad message or anything like that, but they're the ones that go back and forth on the hanging road, which is, the galaxy, the Milky Way galaxy. And so, whenever he looks over and sees, the owl, and then, he hears the phone machine and turns away, and then when he looks back out the window again, the owl's gone. And of course the question there is, was the owl really there or was the owl not there? And so that's that kind of like, there are far greater things, Horatio, than they're dreamt of in thy philosophies kind of aspect, I think, to the books. And that situation that you were talking about there, one time we were at the ranch, and it was fall, like that, and I was hauling in firewood and putting it in the wood-burning stove. And I put it in there, and my wife Judy was sitting there at the kitchen table, and she looked out the window, and there we got a teepee, in the north pasture, and on the spires up there, we looked, and perfectly silhouetted in this full moon was a great horned owl. And my wife Judy, she goes, "Oh my!" And and I look and I was like, "Well," and I was trying to make a joke, which is what I always do. I looked up and I said, "Well, I guess somebody's trying to send us a message." We got up the next morning and Ann Hillerman called me on the phone and she said Tony had died that night. Tony Hillerman had died, and I was like, "I don't think I'm going to make fun of that anymore." So you bet.